just love the drama.
Big U-turns, just ripped a few allowance.
Cut that.
Because loose lips, sink ships.
And what the fans want is to stop teams being owned by madmen.
Listen, you're really making a mess here. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We're getting really cross with you.
The sticky patch came when the rest of the team's sticky patch came, which was sort of January onwards.
Grumble, boobs joke, hot wings.
You should be stood outside Hillsborough in the stocks having rotten fruit frozen.
The Wednesday week!
Put on your podcast!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday week. It is transfer deadline day. I'm not wearing a golden tie because, well, who's done that in the last 10 years? And it's still a joke we keep peddling on the internet. Sheffield Wednesday have actually signed a player, and I believe we've missed out on one unless any news comes out while we're live on air. Joining me tonight, I've got Simon, John, and Beth, and we've got all sorts of stuff to talk about. We've got 2 games to get through, so let's chew through it. Beth, how was your weekend? All right?
Yeah, pretty good. A very busy day and a very lazy day, which is my favourite. Yeah, pretty good. How was yours?
Lots going on. Tell me about your hat.
My hat. Oh, so I wanted a nice Sheffield Wednesday hat, and I've wanted a nice Sheffield Wednesday hat for ages. But the club shop is not to my taste. So merchandise boycott considered, I have my own Till the Wheels Fall Off hat, which cost me £8 from probably some mass production factory in China, but I'm really happy with it.
The way that Donald Trump, every time somebody mentions like these hooky shirt websites, I always just have Donald Trump and go, China. And I don't know why.
I think it looks like a MAGA hat, so I'd rather you say that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all right. China. John, how was your weekend? All right, boss?
Yeah, not bad. Went to match. We'll talk about that as we go on. And but yeah, other than that, it was pretty quiet weekend. Sort of, Mrs. is a teacher, so we're just enjoying it last dregs of the holidays before she went back today.
I've just thought I've actively avoided going on Facebook today because it's normally kids in school uniforms in front of doors. I don't know why they're always in front of doors. Have you got one of them, Simon? Have you got one of Ethan from them years ago?
Dem long time years ago, mate. He's 17 now. Bloody hell.
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Football related, both obviously S6, and then my lad is now signed for AFC Emily Academy. So he was training on Sunday morning in Wakefield, 2 hours of beasting. So yeah, nice. Beasting. One lad had to go home because he kept throwing up. So there you go. That's what it was.
Pre-season. That's how it works, isn't it? I love that. Right then, so we've got 2 games to get through. So the first one was a cup game against Leeds United. Big, tasty affair. Beth, were you bothered before we went into the game? I mean, I don't want to ask you about how we feel now, but before we went in, we were like,
I actively wanted to lose that game. Before we went into it, I just was like, we can't afford a cup run. We can't afford to make any kids scared or injured or tired, let alone first team. So I was more than happy to throw it in advance.
yeah, I was the same. Simon, we did put the kids out. Let me get the lineup. See how many of these you recognise. We've got Horvath, Sakara, McGee, Weaver, Otabeo, Johnson, Fusiri, Shipston, Thornton, Jamal Lowers, Capitan, and Brown. What do you know the first name of a lot of them?
No. Basically, I think if we hadn't had the Bolton game beforehand, we wouldn't know who any of them were. The only one I know is Will Granger, who went to school, junior school, with Ethan. He was a year younger than Ethan. So he went to junior school. He was a year below Ethan, and he's always been a great player. But the only one I knew was Will, and that was it.
I tell you what, though, these kids have started to make a name for themselves after the performance they put in. Not a lot to talk about in the first half, John, but let's be honest, they battered us first half, didn't they?
Oh yeah, I wasn't going to watch it, to be honest, mate. And then I saw that we were doing as watch along with Stevie and Ash, and I thought, you know what, I've seen a lot of other people do these watch alongs, so dipping our toe in them water. So I thought, yeah, I'll have a watch at these guys. And it was absolute gold because they were about 30 seconds behind everybody else. So whenever anything happened, you got to see how they would react to it, even though you knew what were coming. So it was gold. It was worth watching just for that alone. But yeah, first half, they were just quite, Leeds are, we're not seeing ball here. We're just not seeing ball at all. About 80% possession Leeds, I think. So
Yeah, it was 80% with 89% accuracy. So it was them just passing it around us. But you're right. I forgot to mention it. It'd be a disservice if I didn't mention Stevie and Ash. So Beth, just doing a watch along is not something we wanted to do. We didn't want to be those fans that talk about football, come out 3 times a week talking about football, but not actually go to the games because we're sat at home watching it on the telly. You know what I mean? We've all got season tickets. We all go. We don't want to be those guys, but because of the protests and everything that was happening, this was a great opportunity. And those pair of clowns did 3 hours online of those pair talking utter nonsense. And I tell you what, there's something weird about it, right? Because when you do something like this, you feel kinship with the people that you watch regularly. You know what I mean? I have a lot of people talk to me. God, that sounds really self-congratulating. I have a few people come up and say, "Fudge, how's it going?" And I like, they know, and it's great that they watch and it's great that they get involved. It's amazing. But I was sat watching them going, "Why is this so compelling? It's ridiculous. It's just a pair of people I've been speaking to for a number of years, just talking."
We're the Gogglebacks generation, aren't we? It's like we've now resorted to watching people watching something else. So now watching people watch a football match, and it's like, how does that even work? If you'd have said that 10, 15 years ago, they'd have thought you off your rocker, wouldn't they? But
I don't know. All them years ago, we used to have, what was it, fan cam back in the day, didn't we? We used to have the alternative commentary with those 2 lads just rubbing the bellies on each other. That was always fun. But let's get further into the game. So, Simon, I don't think this was an own goal.
No,
I like saying contentious things on the internet, but I thought, is that an own goal? Does that count?
It was a shot on target that he deflected into the back of the net. You know, it wasn't an own goal, as in he just poor keeping, put it in the back of his own net. I've seen better own goals, far better own goals. So I'll take that as a goal. To be honest, I think that's rough on Jamal. Really, it was a nice bit of play for the goal. I thought the kids did. I think there was a game plan set out. I mean, you look at 80% possession, but I really do think that Pedersen set them out with a game plan of what we wanted to do to nullify Leeds and to say the huge gulf, because this isn't just Championship versus Premier League here. This is academy. It was an under 20s, under 21s academy bar 2 players. I mean, what?
Not according to Parker.
I think that was it. The statistics something along the lines of 240 odd league appearances and 230 of those were Jamal Lowe's. It was just the most bizarre thing. You've got kids there who can't have the betting logos on their shirts because of their age. So this was monumental in regards to, yes, winning it was amazing, but how they actually managed to contend with Leeds and never looked overawed from the start to the finish. Some teams would have just capitulated under those statistics, but we didn't. And like I say, the eldest lad there was, I think, the keeper, who did his job on the day as well.
Absolutely. Now, Beth, welcome back to the show. You're right. I've had a comment here saying Bethany's signed for United. I've noticed your little scarf that you're wearing there. Are you going on the Pamplona Bull Run? Is that the plan?
No, my mum knitted me this scarf, so don't be mean about it. Oh, I think my mum's probably watching, so I thought I'll wear my scarf for Julia.
If I was running down Spanish, say again.
Julia caught strays last time I was on, so no Julia strays tonight, please.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Now, after we went 1-0 up, Beth, there was an element of inevitability about them scoring, wasn't there? It was always going to come, but then again, it was coming for the first hour of football. It wasn't until the 81st minute did they actually put the ball in the back of the net, and by this time, we've got children marking Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who people still seem to think is a decent player.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt a lot about that game. I think a lot, and probably talk a lot as well about the inevitability of that Darren Moore side and the inevitability in that League One promotion season. Like, I just felt like whatever football we played or whatever the score was, all those late winners, all those kind of narratives that we turn on their head, I felt that kind of inevitability to an extent in this cup game. Like, once we'd scored, even though they scored, I was like, you know what, it's fine. We will get a pens. I don't know if that was, Horvath having that fire that kind of came through the whole game, and just the spirit of it was brilliant. And I think it didn't feel like kids playing dress up as professional footballers. Like, it felt really authentic and really spirited. And
Yeah.
Things like Granger on Longstaff. I was just like, no, we're really up for this, and I'm feeling the inevitability come back. I was like, I was being deluded, but I was like, no, we're going to do it.
We're winning the cup. We're winning the cup. We're having a day out at
Exactly.
Wembley. Chad Siri in. That was a joke. Please don't report me to anybody. You know what I mean? That we're signing players as well. We've got plenty to talk about with that coming up. But, you know, John, Calvert-Lewin's shit, and he's been shit for a number of years. Why do people not realise this? He missed some absolute sitters.
He did. And I think it's just one of them. Once a player gets to play in the Premier League, some of them live off that reputation for the rest of their career. Oh, he's played at Premier League. He's played at a highest level. But yeah, he didn't look great, did he? And he missed, like you say, a couple of gilt-edged chances. To be fair, and obviously that drew a lot of happiness from us. Given his roots and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's just some players just live off a reputation because they've played at a certain level, and I think he's definitely one of them.
He's I'll get told off by Mad Ward saying, don't even mention his name, Fudge. My apologies. DCL, you're trash. You're trash. You had one good season from Carlo Ancelotti, and that's the season where he said to you, hey, striker, stay in the box. Well, who'd have bloody thunk it? Sweet child of mine. We've sold football, striker up front in box. In fact, if you could tell that lad that was playing for Arsenal yesterday, what's his name, Gyökeres, he spent more time down the wing. Don't get me started. Let's talk about Ethan Horvath, Simon. Let's talk about Ethan Horvath.
Oh.
Had a great game, didn't he?
He did. I mean, he took a few hits, didn't he, from following the Wrexham game, and he certainly turned that round. And we'll talk about Saturday in a moment, but some of the saves were outstanding, absolutely outstanding. Point blank saves, kept us in it. Absolutely kept us in it. With the person who can't be mentioned missing sitters and him basically becoming prime Buffon, it got us to the finish line. I'd just say that I'm happy that he goes straight to penalties now, and there wasn't 30 minutes of extra time, because I think they might have shaded it in extra time.
I didn't fancy extra time. I didn't fancy extra time. Let's talk about the penners, Beth. So we were great. Our penners were really good, weren't they?
That Ike penalty is maybe one of my it's not quite Jack Hunt at the miracle level.
It's not Jack Hunt or Kevin Pressman, is it?
It was a cracker, because you see the players going up, and I like to play the little game with myself of I want to deep their expression, I want to read their body language. Like, are they scoring? Are they not scoring? And when you see someone going up like Ugbo, sometimes you're like, no, it's not been written in the stars for you since you got the contract, boy. Like, it's not looking good. But that was a cracking penalty. That was my highlight of the pens for sure.
Especially after that one. Well, yeah, what was that one? Was it Millwall where Windass gave Ugbo the opportunity to score a penalty and he ballooned it over the top, and that cost us a tasty point, didn't it? We're on the spitting distance of the playoffs. And you just think that this player's confidence is on its backside. So when I've seen him step up for a penalty, you're like, oh, God, are we sure about this? But I'm glad he's put it away, and I'm glad he's well on the way back. He just needs to work on, moving and running and kicking.
The essentials.
Then we're all right.
It's difficult to do that when you're not actually starting games, though, isn't it?
It's difficult to get minutes under your belt and learn how to play football from the bench, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I did like Barry Bannon, which was a great penalty, and then he went up to the cop and shushed them. He shushed a completely empty stand, which I thought was just amazing. He scored and went shh to the cop.
Did we get an announcement on how many people were there? By the way, was it 7,000?
7,000.
Yeah,
something like that.
Just over 7, weren't it?
Yeah.
Hell of a message to be sent, and there was a wonderful announcement or message from Jamal Lowe saying, "Look, we understand why the fans aren't there, because there was a part of me that was like, I'm gutted for these kids. Because there was always that concern of like they're going to get lambs to the slaughter here. You know what I mean? They're live on Sky, local derby. It could be 5-0. It could have ruined some of those kids' careers, that game. But they came out the other side of it. And Ethan Horvath was absolutely outstanding in those penalties. I am absolutely over the moon. And if we go to where we're going next, it's I can't work out the cup ties anymore. What's going on there?
We're home
Grimsby.
Home against Grimsby.
Yeah, it's Grimsby again. It's Grimsby again who managed to get through with a penalty win against Manchester United. So it could be anybody's. It could be another round. It could be a kicking. We don't know anymore. But tell me about the boycott. I think there was a number of people who'd bought. Sorry, whose turn is it? Is it you, John? I feel like a number of people might have bought a ticket and then not gone, like happens in the League Cup, which kind of defeats the purpose, right?
There might have been an element of that, yeah, certainly. And I think if you're going to pick a game to boycott, then an early stages of a League Cup game seems quite a low-hanging fruit kind of deal. So I think that was probably always going to be a lower attendance game anyway. And I think the ones that were in attendance, albeit to a smaller degree, would have been friends and family of those young players that were playing. Maybe quite a few tickets would have been given out on that. And weirdly, I think the lower crowd might have helped them because they'll not have played in front of big crowds anyway, will they? A lot of those chaps, they'll have been, just playing under 21s at Middlewood Road or at Hillsborough, and so it may have helped them. But I think it was just a fixture that was easy to boycott, really. And I think some might have just bought a ticket and then felt a bit influenced by what was going on, all the shouting and stuff on social media. But yeah, not surprised that it was low, 7,000, just one stand. And we'd closed 2 stands as well, then, hadn't we? So we're always going to be a low attendance anyway.
There's just a couple of things that I wanted to pick up at there. So, we've got, I understand the boycotts for League Cup. I genuinely do. They were a good opportunity to send the message. And let's just go through a couple of comments here. So we've got that game needs a full boycott. That's the Grimsby game. Madwood says, let's face it, Ugbo's season to shine. He needs to get the monkey off his back. Completely agree. Once he bags one, it might get a bit of confidence back. Izzy said Ugbo spent a lot of time babysitting so far this season. Yeah, he has. And then Izzy again has said, if you buy a ticket, you may as well go, which I kind of agree, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? You've kind of defeated the object. However, I do need to reference the boycotts to an extent. There's a reason. It's not the sole reason. I know he's busy. It's the start of the school year and stuff like that. But I wanted to bring up the fact that my colleague or our colleague Stevie, who does this podcast, got in an altercation with a fella who was starting to give him abuse or give a family member of his abuse, and he waded in for getting some snacks for the kids. You know what I mean? That's not what it's about. Now, I feel that I need to be very careful again, because I think I caveat that with a lot of things I say. I need to be very careful in the way I say this. I understand the boycott. I understand not a pound in the ground. But from the other perspective, you need to understand that not everybody has the same access to social media. Not everybody has the same access to some of the messaging that you guys get out there that's watching this, for example. And not everybody's going to know that there's a boycott happening. Now, let's say if you see somebody who you don't recognize or something like that, and you feel like you want to get the message across, hey, pal, heads up, just so you know, we're doing this thing, and this is, you know what I mean? I don't know if you're aware, something like that. There's no point of walking up to complete strangers going, oh, what you bloody doing there, you fucking scab? You know what I mean? It don't work like that. That's not how it is. I am happy to do the protests. I'm happy to do the not a pound in the ground. I'm happy not to buy the shirt, especially the shirts this season. But I also want to do it in a way that's respectful, and I want to do not to chance it in the bin, but I want to do it in a way where we're respectful to each other. And some of the messaging and things I've seen on social media recently absolutely make my toes curl. Yeah, you need to understand that not everybody sees the same messaging as you. That's how Twitter works. You like one post, and all of a sudden you're going to get bombarded with other posts that agree with you, and it makes you feel like you're in a majority. Darren Brown did a wonderful episode of his show, and I'm going back about 17 years now, where it was something like it spoke about the influence of a crowd and how you can feel involved. I'll dig it out and put it on the socials. It's absolutely incredible. And it's that type of mob mentality is a bit too strong a term, but we need to be respectful to each other, because some of the shite I've seen spouting online it's beyond nuts, man.
You've got to look at actually the effect it's already had on the club, the attendances, and it is massively noticeable that people are not spending money in the ground, right? It's been a huge influence, and there are a few people who are. Respect their decision if they want to do it. You don't know. So, for example, if somebody's buying their 4 or 5-year-old grandson a program, How can you explain to a 4 or 5-year-old, no, we can't have a program because we're not buying anything in the ground? You can't. That child wants to come and experience the football. They're not part of the politics. That's what's going on. You don't know that somebody might be having a drink, because at the end of the day, the only thing he or she ever gets out of the house is to go to the football. They might not see anybody else. They might work long hours. They might work for the NHS. They might be a lorry driver or whatever it might be. And this is their only way of actually having something outside their life. There are a lot of people who live by themselves, and the only friends and family they've got are the people at Hillsborough. We can't carry this on in regards to some of the language I thought was abhorrent on Saturday after that game. And it's people we've all got a camera in our pockets, people taking photographs of these people and calling them out. At the end of the day, again, these photographs, it showed that there were no queues. There were people weren't buying pies. You know what? It's actually been really effective. One of our lowest attendances for the start of the season a couple of weeks ago, lowest attendance below 20,000 we've had, for 2 or 3 seasons. It is working. Stop calling people out, because it is ridiculous and it's dividing people and it's making you look like idiots. And what it's also doing is it will turn people against the trust and people like that, if that's the people who are in that, who are supporting that, but then using this sort of language.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me float that to the comments, actually, because there's a really good point you made in there, Simon. So Rob Shirley said, you'll never bring people with you by giving them stick. The trust have been brilliant in their tone of communication. And Owen's doubled down here, and I think this is a really salient point, because, like I said, we always like to bring balance to this. And he said, Owen says, the trust have been careful to say, we're asking for this, but respect people's choices. And that somehow turns into, the trust says you're all scabs. And that's not what they mean. I think the trust of get this, kids, said what they mean. And people are going to say, oh, you're always happy clappers on this show. We are. We're light entertainment. And I tell you what, we're fucking funny and all. But I tell you what, us screaming at each other ain't going to help anything. And I swear to God, if I'm buying a pint or I'm buying, let's say I've got low blood sugar and I want to get some Haribos and somebody starts giving me shit, I'll do what I fucking want. Thanks. Do you know what I mean? I like if somebody put their hand on my shoulder and said, listen, Fudge, did you forget we're doing the thing? I'd have gone, do you know what? I completely forgot. Do you know what? Cancel that Bovril. I'll just have the Haribos. You know what I mean? I get it, but there's no point somebody stood behind me gobbing on someone's back going, get up, got bloody scabs here, bloody hell, what you bloody doing? It makes us look like fucking idiots, and I don't like it.
I think,
go on, John.
I think just to caveat off that as well, Dan, and just to agree with Simon, I think that's a really good point you've made there. You can see the effects it's already having. I've never seen kiosks without queues like I have seen in the last few weeks. To get this thing working, to get this thing rolling, only needs a majority. It doesn't need absolutely everybody. You're never going to get 100% turnout for stuff like this. Like anything, like anybody who wants a party gets voted into power, they get in on a majority, don't they? You know, if we want to make our statements, you know, and make it effective, then we just need a majority, and that's what we're achieving right now. You know, on Saturday we had the lowest attendance for a home Saturday game in years. It was under 20,000. You know, so we're getting there. The message is getting there. But what you can't do is start turning on each other and using the term scabs as well is completely derogatory and
say that when Nottingham come up.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So the message is getting there. Don't chastise everybody. You don't know everybody's personal circumstance or why they're at that game, and it's not just because they're pro Chansira. It might be completely different reasons why they're there. So just have a bit of respect. Your message is working. Give it time. It's working.
Excellent point there, John. And it was 10 years, I think it was, since we dropped lower than 20,000 on a Saturday 3 p.m. game. Anyway.
Don't skip ahead. Don't press that button. These ads are lean, not belly mutton. A tiny break before we pop. And don't forget the fun. Stop.
I had to put the fun stop into that advert break jingle there because I did an advert for Coral and I realized I'm just a corporate shill nowadays. You know what I mean? I've just got to keep it moving. Okay, then. So let's get into our second game. So, Beth, we were playing Swansea at the weekend. Did you have any high hopes for this game? Oh, you're on mute. My apologies. I'll do some interlude music. Play me out, Johnny. Gling, 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 gling. Beth, how did you feel before the Swansea game?
I had some residual delusion left over from midweek, I think. I don't know if I was like, no, we've got the big boys back now. forget the kids. We're going to have a crack at this. That's it. I don't think Swansea have had a great start either. I thought they were one of the teams that had a really good transfer window, and I expected to be doing a lot better than they are. So I feel like I'm always like, yes, I know, but yes, I know. I had my midweek delusion, but also I was like, there's something about this Swansea team that's quite clever, and they've got a good squad. So
I did the prequel, the Hello from the Other Side prequel with a chap called Luke, really softly well-spoken Welsh fella, like, you know, that sexy Welsh accent where they're like, oh, what it is, you know, the Lisingi's on ones. And he was saying that the consortium that headed up by Snoop Dogg and Luka Modric is, you know, Snoop Dogg's not really stood there going, hey, you got to play a 4-4-2. Shit. You know what I mean? He's not doing any of that. My apologies for offending everybody with that accent. But there was also he also said that Modric is doing some bits in terms of the coaching side of it as well. He's not on a tracksuit, but there's some feedback coming in from Modric as well, and you know that can't be a bad thing. But you're right, there is something about this Swansea squad that's got bits. However, Simon, Ethan Horvath, after his midweek exploits, got himself on the graphic for the starting 11. So we're back to full strength of what's available. We've got Horvath, Valerie, Iorfa, Maxlow, Palmer, Ingleson, Bannon, Kabatsky, McNeil, Jamal Lowe, Kadamartri. Now, Kabatsky seems to be coming in for a lot of beef online recently, doesn't he? Is it justified? Does he pass the eye test for you?
I think there's a player in there. I thought that last season we signed him. I just think that he was a bit part player last season, wasn't he? And I think Danny Roll didn't see him in his eyes in regards to becoming a permanent player. We're having to play him because he's now classed as one of our senior players, which is mental, isn't it? Because I think he played in a couple of the cup games and that was about it, and sat on the bench a few times. And now he's classed as a senior player. I don't know how old he is. He's early 20s, isn't he? I think
he's older than you think.
Is he?
Yeah, he's not like a kid. One second.
I'm going to Google him while you're talking. Carry on.
Yeah. But I actually thought he was all right for 80% of the game on Saturday. He got caught a few times, but I thought Max Lowe behind him was absolutely superb. So the sort of overlap with Max helped him out. I just still think he had a really good. He made some space for himself and had a shot in the first half, I think, just over the bar. But we're just not doing enough of that. There was far too much, in my opinion, defending too deep, and he didn't really see the most of his game that he could do. So the jury's still out. I think there's a player in there, and I thought in parts he was good. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe bad.
What were you doing, Simon, in the summer of 2001?
2001.
Yeah.
I just got married the year before, so 2001 we were on holiday somewhere enjoying life before it. I was in
my second season at Butlins Family Entertainment Resort, Skegness. What about you, John?
I think I was in Gran Canaria on a lad's holiday, to be honest.
Yeah. Olaf Kabatsky was getting born then, boys. So, Beth, I'm not going to give you the disservice of outing how old you are because you're a lady on the interwebs. But 2001 is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I'm not having it. But Rob Shirley's been on. He says, Arshawn Kabatsky, mainly being played out of position at left wing back, but he's no defender, a bit like Marv, which is a solid comment. Yeah. Right then. Yeah. So, go on, John.
No, I'm just going to say I'm struggling to see a player just yet in Kabaki, but I do actually admit, I do agree, that he has been a victim of being played out of position due to the circumstance. But I thought, what with him on one side and McNeil on the other, you'll be familiar, Dan, with the American football where they call like penalties drive killers. Well, I thought that him and McNeil were a bit of a drive killer for us because they just lost the ball far too often for my liking, and it killed our attacking play. But yeah, that's it. That observations. I just thought, those
and that's why you see so many Miami Dolphins fans as Wednesday fans, John, because Tua Tagovailoa's exactly that.
Exactly that, mate. Yeah.
Can't keep hold of the ball for 5 minutes. But Simon, I'll come back to you actually. So let's talk about that first goal. Ethan Horvath in all his glory in the midweek. should not be getting beat on his near post like that, should he? I mean, I think Vopotnik just smashed it goalwards, and it's one of them unlucky ones. I don't think he's completely to blame. He was kind of on his own at the edge of the six, wasn't he?
Yeah, I just feel it was just a build-up of just mistake after mistake, which led to the goal. I thought Dominic Iorfa was caught, losing his man for the marker. And this guy's scored in his last 2-3 games. And yeah, there were a couple of times where I thought Horvath looked a little bit dodgy, so to speak. He's definitely from the Beadle school of palming the ball out, which isn't the school of goalkeeping I'm particularly sign up to. But yeah, it was again. Sorry, it was coming. It was coming. I thought we did all right. We nullified him a bit, but midfield, where were midfield? And I think we were guilty of playing the centre of the midfield far too deep. And then when we did break, there was no bugger up there. It was just, Jamal Lowe, Kadamatri were playing fairly alone. And then we were playing very deep in midfield, back to defence. I think we were trying to go for a draw, to be honest.
I'm really worried about Kadamatri. I'm worried about him being one of those strikers that just gets left up on his own to try and dig something out or try and muscle something. He's not, Beth, it's not like he's going to leave somebody for dead and start racing clear of the defence. He's not that type of player.
No, but does he look like that kind of player, though? Are we profiling him because he's like broad and big? And I don't know. Like, I don't see him as that player. I'm frustrated at kind of where he's at this season. I think after the season before last, when he was having that amazing spell, he was having the nosebleed goals and all these iconic moments, you're looking forward to him coming back from Lincoln, and you're thinking, especially working under like Skabala, who's like a really good coach there, you're hoping like, what kind of player we're going to get back? Like, it can't be any worse. And at the moment, he's just, again, he's working under terrible circumstances, like the whole squad, and not getting the service that he was probably getting from Gas and Masaba in that team of 2 seasons ago. But yeah, I hope it picks up for him. Someone seems to think there's someone in there, especially Sheffield United. But
yeah, that's a bit of banter. It's like when they tried to take Shea Charles last season. Now we're back to Hillsborough, that's owned by one clown to the name of another who scored the second for Swansea. That's a hell of a segue. You're welcome. 81st minute, Ronald came in. Remind me of this goal, John. They've all bled into each other. It was a ping, wasn't it? It was an absolute rich snorter.
The Swansea's second goal, I think it was just a bit of a mix up in our box, weren't they? And he was just allowed to sort of turn and just let one fly, didn't he? It was a bit of a thunder chuffer, weren't it?
Again, Dominic Iorfa lost his marker, and the guy got the ball. And by the time he realised that he'd left him, he ran across, tried to stop it, and it back.
But it was still like 25 yards out. There was still, you know what I mean?
I don't think it was. I'm sure it was in the box.
No, this is when Vipotnik like dummies it.
Yeah.
Passes it to Ronald. Ronald just like does a little. It's more of a dink than I'd say it's a dink.
Yeah.
He just kind of turned and shot, didn't he?
But it was in the box.
Yeah.
It was in the box. Yeah, because Iorfa came sliding in to try and block it because he realised he'd lost his man.
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think before that, Jan Valery gave us a highlight time and gave us a highlight of the game. Where's he been? Who's this guy? Who's this guy coming in?
We had something very similar in the first half, just before half time, where I think Ingleson picked the ball up and Bannon, and it just didn't fall for us. And it looked like we were just going to get through, and then they got a foot in, and it was similar, but it fell to him this time. And putting it over the bar, he should have made the keeper work at least. But he's a defender in the box. What the hell are you doing, man?
But there was a bit where he's done this really good turn and then gone, shit, I'm all right, fuck me. You know what I mean? They've gone back and they've done it like twice. It looked like an old Paolo Di Canio goal against Southampton back in the 90s. It was a whole thing. Just want to cut to a couple of comments. Izzy was still talking about about not a pound in the ground, live and let live. I don't think a few snacks for the kids at half time would be the thing that keeps Chansiri in business. And Craig Haywood 100% agrees. Anthony Ella has brought up a point saying, I have to say that get out of our club is getting old and maybe think of changing it to you said you will sell. You said that you will sell. You can't afford us. You promised to sell. I can remember the words to that one, and it's a lot better than 8-year-olds shouting C bombs across Hillsborough Park.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Which
It's a bit 80s love songish, though, isn't it?
yeah. You said. I'm hoping it's the same. It's the same tune as last time. And then Mad Ward said, "Promise we don't have a choice." When we reference Cadamartri running around, and that is a massive problem. I feel it is. I'm hoping that our new signings that we're going to talk about very soon will bridge that gap, but I don't know if it will. And Craig Haywood talking about Iorfa saying, cut through our defence like hot knife through butter. Iorfa stood there like a statue again. I do agree, but he is a pretty man. So,
that's
all I've got. That's all I've got to go to the football
being
for.
Good looking does not give us points, unfortunately.
Very, very good looking. So Hillsborough also hosted 19,740 fans, according to ESPN. A solid turnout, contrasting sharply with the earlier low attendance during the Carabao Cup. The crowd witnessed a dominant away display, with Wednesday still searching for their first league win. So this is interesting as well, because what I'm going to bash some stats up as well, because in terms of shots, look at that. We got absolutely schooled by Swansea. And if you're one of those XG guys as well, they had 64% of possession, but the expected goals for them was 1.3 and we had 0.45. We are literally backs to the wall. That's what's happening. It's a struggle. Now, moving on, it's time for this. Hot topic! As it stands right now, Sheffield Wednesday are just above Sheffield United at the bottom of the Championship. And this is going to be a hot topic. And Beth, you and I are external right now, so we can look at it from the outside. But I want John and Simon's opinion on this. And the question is, and I want to get the comments as well, and make sure you, because I've not done it and Ash is going to tell me off, make sure you like and subscribe, everybody. Make sure you press like and subscribe. Don't forget to ring that bell. I have to say that now. I have to say that. But the question is does Sheffield have an inherent problem in attracting players? What is wrong with Sheffield football right now? Because I think it's a massive problem, and I think it's been a problem for a number of years. And I want to get to the bottom of it, because Sheffield from the outside gets perceived in a certain way. And you've probably had these conversations as well, Beth. I know you live the other side of the Pennines, and Sheffield has a perception problem. I believe. I've been working in Nottingham the last 6-7 weeks, and they're pointing and laughing at screwed up. I can't believe you grew up there and you should hear the accent that they've got, which is ironic. The same one as Chris Wilder's. But Simon, I'll come to you first. Do you feel like we have an issue? And I know that there's going to be some more social issues in this, in terms of rail links, quality of life, how much money Manchester gets spent on it compared to Sheffield, things like that. Do you reckon that that's got I don't know. Do you reckon that's got an influence into Sheffield football, or do you feel like,
I'd have to agree. I'd have to agree 100% with you. I think, unfortunately, the city itself has been left behind since the 90s. We've seen obviously a huge decline since the steel industry became what it has become. And however many times people tell me we're selling more steel now than we've ever done prior to it, at the end of the day, there's less people working in the steel industry, so there's less people who are on that income. And I think the other cities, the northern cities, have moved on. Manchester in particular, you only have to see that. Leeds, I mean, I wouldn't go so far as Huddersfield, but certainly Manchester, Liverpool. And we've not, Liverpool and Manchester are two really good examples, because they're both cities that have two football clubs, and that's something that's always sort of thrown back at Leeds fans when they say it's the biggest club in Yorkshire, and we go, well, we've got two effectively Premier League clubs, and they've got one. But Manchester and Liverpool, I mean, Liverpool's gone through a huge amount of decline over the years, and then now is having a large amount of investment put in. But historically, they've always pushed, and including the council and everybody, the sort of society that live in Liverpool, have pushed being Liverpudlian. So I know it turns a lot of people off in regards to not singing the national anthem and stuff like this.
Do you know what? Actually, Simon, just on your point there, you've got Geordies, they're Geordies, and then you've got Scouse, not English, and we're proud to be Liverpudlian. You've got the Manchester B and everything that surrounds that as well.
And I think we've had this discussion in the past. The Manchester B is another good thing, but back to Liverpool. They've always focused on the Beatles and Liverpool Football Club and Everton Football Club, and the history behind that. And obviously, when we had Owls in the Yard, we had Sheffield Home of Football there, and they're doing a fantastic job. I believe they don't have the backing of. I don't think they have the backing of the council. To which point that they're really pushing how much Sheffield was the influence of the modern game that is. The modern game would not exist without Sheffield and what happened in Sheffield. And yet we've got two football clubs, one sat at the bottom of the league, who shouldn't be because of the investment that's been in it, and ourselves, who, you mentioned about Swansea getting backers and getting a consortium to come in. Swansea, I'm sorry, Swansea, and Sheffield Wednesday can't attract, we're going cap in hand, hopefully, to an American who might come in and buy us or might not. And it's disastrous. It is disastrous for the city, but we seem to be the poor relation to every other northern neighbour.
It's just, I tell you what, I've had the day off today, so I've just been chewing it around. I mean, John, I think Simon's put it really well there, because I think what Sheffield has bred is a very large distrust of people with money, people with influence. I just don't think. I think as a result of this distrust, we don't like change in Sheffield, and I feel like we hold ourselves back because we've been. And I'm going to use a phrase. Sorry, Beth. We've been cocked to so many years that this is what they're going to do, and it's never happened. If you think back to how much the World Student Games was going to change Sheffield. The big steel man that they were going to erect. None of this has happened. How much they were going to change and revolutionise Sheffield city centre. I understand why Sheffield's got that attitude towards it. I mean, am I being out of order?
No, absolutely not. I think one of the cruxes of the problem is we've not been a progressive city because we've had a terrible local authority for years and years and years. I think they don't recognise, as good friend of the show, Mark, the Pittsmore, I would say we're the fourth largest city in England. And I would say outside of Sheffield, I bet there's not many people that would even know that. I don't think Sheffield, it doesn't embrace itself, it doesn't appreciate itself, it's not no confidence in itself. And I think a lot of that stems from the local authority who've never really, they've been in Leeds' pocket all the time, haven't they? It's always been overshadowed by Leeds, and instead of meeting them to rise that challenge, you've just allowed it to fester. And it's even little things like, you remember, like calendar was always Leeds biased. We got the old War of the Monster Trucks. We won the cup and got no coverage, did we? Because it was a Leeds bias-based TV programme, so you didn't get anything. And I think it's just, like you said, we've had all these mismanaged projects. The Museum for Football should be in Sheffield. It shouldn't be in Manchester, like Simon was saying. The game originated in Sheffield. This should be, as you get into the railway stations, it should be Sheffield, home of football. Fair play to Emerson's relish. That's fine, but it should be Sheffield, home of football.
I tell you what, I don't normally get a go on, John, on here, John. Bloody hell, that was this is something you're really passionate about. I really like it. My apologies to cut you down.
But the thing is, and I'll not take too much because let others have a go. But the thing is, you look at the Manchesters and the Liverpools. We're bigger than both of those as a city size. Yeah. And look at the success they've had as football clubs. We should have had some of that. There's two big clubs in Sheffield. They should have done a lot better than that.
When Everton Stadiums, the Bramley Moor Dock started getting built, right? Obviously, that was when Everton were going through some really, really bad financial times. And obviously, I was involved we were one of the subcontractors who helped build that stadium, company I work for. And at no point did they go through that and go, lads, we're going to have to stop building this because we're running out of money. The council went, we need this stadium because the area where it's being built needs to be redeveloped, a bit like where the Etihad is in Manchester. To be honest, that area was a shithole. You go there now and it's amazing. There's apartments. It's really been massively redeveloped. And they're hoping the same will happen to Bramley-Moore Dock in Liverpool, because it isn't the nicest of areas, trust me, because I spent half a year there last year. And then local builders, who I think are the two guys it's now named after, came in and chucked a shitload of money in as well, right? So what does Sheffield City Council do? Oh, we've got a stadium in Attercliffe, but to be honest, we don't invest any more money in it. I tell you what, we'll knock the fucker down. And that's what happens. This lack of self-pride, and we've constantly, unfortunately, we've taken on this mantle of, oh, feel sorry for us. Oh, feel sorry for us. Look at the Full Monty film. Great, amazing humour. We all got it from Sheffield. I love that film. I watch it again. But it is
sobering.
But in the other hand, it was, oh, feel sorry for us. We're all on the dole. We're all this. We're all that. You know, there's some great aspects to Sheffield. The university, I think we've got the highest retention rate of students who come to Sheffield and stay in Sheffield. You know, we've got Sheffield Home of Football. Why aren't we screaming why isn't the council taking that and going, right, we've got 2 football clubs here, 2 of the oldest professional football clubs in the world. Like, not in Yorkshire, in the world, right? Why is it that I go and I get a few beers down me and I'm down south on business meetings? I start to talk, who do you support? Arsenal, Tottenham, Man U? No, I support Sheffield Wednesday. And then I tell them about why we call Sheffield Wednesday, the fact that there are 2 clubs to win the league title. Sorry, I'm ranting here. 2 clubs to win the league title with 2 different names. Us, because we were called the Wednesday first and then became Sheffield Wednesday, and Arsenal, who were originally called Woolwich Arsenal. You know, nobody knows that. Everybody knows about Arsenal. Nobody knows about Wednesday. Come on. You know, why should it be down to a 54-year-old to bloody go rattle the can and shout?
Beth, I've been raised the Dars. Look at this.
What
Come on, John.
I was just going to say, but those things, like you even mentioned there, Simon, like Sheffield had the best, and I mean, you know, I'm going off football slightly, but Sheffield had the best athletic stadium in the country by a mile. Yeah. And it's not even there now. They just knocked it down. What a waste of money. And the point I'm trying to raise is these things have a knock-on effect of having successful football teams, because you need a city that's progressive and has infrastructure and brings tourism and capital and commerce and all that. And if you get that, then it more like proper businessmen, like, you know, proper ones, not like the ones that we've got in charge, are like, oh yeah, I like a bit of that Sheffield vibe. Let's go and have a look at that. And then they'll come in and buy a club and invest in it, and then you get things like tournaments when England hosts a tournament. I know we had it in '96, but we'll get considered for stuff like that again, and it keeps you in that melting pot of all those other big teams and cities, doesn't it? But our council, like, oh no, give Leeds a ring, see if they'll do it. You know what I mean?
I tell you what, hang on, let me go to some comments here, lads, because you've enraged everybody, and I've enraged you, Pet. And I must admit, I didn't tell them this is what we were going to speak about this evening.
You didn't.
And Beth, I'll come to you from the outside looking in just a second after this. But let me go through some of these comments. Mad Ward started with "it's shit, Dan," and then doubled down with "not the city, just the football." And then everybody else said something else. So Jay Blogs went, "the city's not attractive." Matt Strickland blames it on the speed restriction at Junction 34 at the M1. That's let's say Sheffield down. And then Izzy Nicholson, based on the original question about Sheffield football, United are underperforming and we're understaffed. Jay Blogs has gone with, we don't even have a John Lewis. Ridiculous chat. Ridiculous chat. Craig Hayward says, not 100% we attract, but not 100%. It's a bad city. We attract bad owners that don't understand football. United signed plenty over the last couple of days, so they can attract players. They've got money to buy themselves out of the shit that they're in. Now, what spawned this was a chat I was having with a load of London-based owls after QPR, and he said we chatted about this. London Owls said we chatted about this after the QPR game. I think the city does play victim and be insular rather than try to change, because it's been badly served by its leaders and nationally, which goes back to what you were saying, John, and that's why we have that attitude and why we don't want to change. London Owl again doubles down with, we had 2 films set in Sheffield, Threads and The Full Monty. Neither were particularly uplifting. And I've got this right chip on my shoulder about the way we embrace Yorkshireness sometimes, about how we're perceived, because living in London and telling people you're from Yorkshire, they expect you to act and be in a certain way. Annoyingly, I pander to that stereotype quite a lot. But the fact we had flat caps on our shirts a couple of years ago really annoyed me. And the name of the company was Hey Up. Oh God, we're just turning into the steer now. You know what I mean? There are some great businessmen and some really well-spoken people from Sheffield, and we seem to just want to go down the route of full Monty. But Wenlock Owl said that Michael Vaughan's column saying that we had more fans than Man City, and he got some grief on X. He's right. He was right.
Same club. The same club. They just won the lottery.
In it,
Yeah.
And then I'm going to enrage you, Beth. But Gary Allsop said you think Clive Betts would sort it out, but he hadn't. And then we've got a question for the podcast here from Craig saying, would the fans of Manchester Liverpool clubs act differently if they were mismanaged like the Owls? Personally, they would. I feel like that's a fair comment, but I feel like Manchester City have had a terrible ownership. I get really annoyed when Manchester United start getting out their Norwich scarves. That really annoys me. Like, you don't know shit. Don't come at me, bro. You know what I mean? And then go on.
Can you imagine how long our hair would be with not winning 5 matches in a row? With that, I'd put like something out of the Hair Bear bunch. That's something for you older fans out there. We'd be like cousin it. It's just be unbelievable. Really,
it'd be awful.
Really.
And then Paul Farouz just said there was a time where Hillsborough was referred to as the Wembley of the North, but there's been no further investment for years. So
Sorry, Dan. You mentioned about Clive Betts earlier, and it was something I was thinking. I was walking the dog earlier, building up to this. Was this whole, not a pound in the ground and not going to games, and it's been brought up slightly on social media, is the fact that it's not just affecting Mr. Chansiri, it's affecting businesses around Sheffield. So if 19,000 turned up, the lowest attendance in 10 years, that means that there are people who normally might have a pint in the ground, but don't have a pint elsewhere, aren't having a pint in the ground. But there'll be people who aren't actually coming. So there'll be sandwich shops, not
vendors,
the Park Hotel, fish and chip shop, the people who have the parking. It's going to affect the whole area, especially Hillsborough, exponentially. And this is when MPs, and certainly the MP for the local area, who seems to have been quiet in regards to this, and the council need to start throwing their weight.
Beth, what's her name?
Julie.
Yeah,
that's Furness. That's her. Yeah. I mean, I think they've put the names to a letter for the independent body, haven't they? But I think there's going to be a point where there are going to be. I haven't walked through Hillsborough before one of the matches. We tend to walk up Penistone Road, but these companies and these people who rely. In fact, we walked past the Crown, and the Crown. I always wonder how the Crown survives outside football season, because it never seems to be busy any other time. But at football matches, it's always rammed outside, and it's always rammed. I bumped into you, Dan, a couple of seasons ago.
I love the Crown.
And there was hardly anybody there before the game.
Really?
And then very few after.
Sorry.
Go on, Beth.
I was going to say, I know that when Charlton were boycotting and were doing they did a similar thing. They were doing not a pound in the ground. They were boycotting merch and such. They had their trust developed like an official boycott partner. So their local butty shops and their local pubs and stuff. It's like, if you're not going to spend the money here, let's do it here. I think that'd be lovely. Like, what spirit of the game rules mean you can bring a packed lunch into a football stadium. So go and grab it there, so you don't go to the tuck shop. Do you know what I mean? I think that'd be really nice.
Things like you get these portable screens now on the back of lorries. Why don't we have one of those in the park before the Grimsby game, and the vendors come into the park, and we have the actual screen. So everybody comes to Hillsborough, but doesn't go in the ground and watches the game outside on a big screen in the park.
I tell you what, if there's any tech nerds out there, can we wire up a hooky fire stick to the back of a wagon? Somebody let me know. Answers in the comments. Beth, I'll tell you what. Listen, I think this has been a wonderful hot topic. By the way, I could talk about how Sheffield pulls itself apart and how it's been lied to and underinvested in for years. But from the outside looking in, then Beth, for somebody who, like myself, who's an expat, the lads are right, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I never have to go for bat to Sheffield with my friends, which is mainly football fans and people in the music scene. Those people are like, yeah, Sheffield's great. Every so often I have to say, oh, the city centre's not great, but you know, everything else is really good. So I like Sheffield is appreciated for what it is nearby. I'm in Manchester. It has good pubs. It has the Peaks nearby. Has some really nice independent shopping. It has some great football. Unfortunately, they're not things that footballers like. Sheffield doesn't have the Trafford Centre, and it doesn't have loads of really fancy nightclubs and all this kind of thing.
No.
So if we're going to go back to like the core argument of like why do footballers not want to come here, maybe that's got something to do with it. Like, I know PNE and Blackburn and Burnley, all of their players live in Manchester. They all live in the same block of flats, pretty much. And those kind of satellite towns of Manchester benefit from being nearby to us here, which again is like uneven footing. No, I love Preston. I love a shit northern satellite town, but you know, you don't want to live there. On the other side of it, as a kind of an adopted Mancunian, Manchester is great at marketing itself. We have the Bee, we have Oasis, we have all these like really signifying like factors of the Mancunian identity, which I don't love a lot of, but that's a totally different argument. Sheffield has all of that. Sheffield has the football, it has the Arctic Monkeys, it has Pulp, it has all of these different things that I would say are just as good and in many cases just as big as what Manchester has. So I think I can only echo that it does go back to what John and Si have said. It's a lack of sticking up for itself and a lack of funding and a lack of, I feel like marketing is too crass of a term maybe, but marketing, like how
ladies and gents, you heard it here first. Beth of the who's quite prominent in the women's supporters group has just agreed with our two resident Wendy Dars live on the Wednesday week. I never thought I'd see the day. I tell you what, I need to get this comment out from Jay Blogs here as well. It says Sheffield's the largest city without an airport. Definitely would put some players and investors off. That is mega for me. That is a huge point that I don't think gets talked about enough. We shouldn't be having to fly to Manchester and bloody Nottingham. And then we had Sheffield Airport, didn't we? And then that was a right load. That was another
white elephant, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a shed in Scunthorpe, so that was fun.
Talk about elephants. No.
I tell you what, right, listen, that was great. I honestly, I could continue that. I feel like we've got a Q&A coming up next week, and I think we should bring that up. But that was tonight's Hot Topic. The comments are now just filling up of a load of people who are, highlighting the societal issues that we've got around Sheffield. But in the meantime, there's go on.
Dan, put Karen Birch's comment up.
What, the one
that
says,
quite ironic.
Yeah, locals who moan how crap Sheffield is don't help. Yeah, to be fair, yeah. Evening. Right, okay. Right then, so we made a signing. We made a signing.
Whoa.
Beth, talk about a mass.
As the Manchester correspondent.
You're the Manchester correspondent. Tell us about that. You've done the homeworks.
I've not done loads of homework. I've just collated my thoughts. So
You've done more than these pair. These pair of council shaggers here. You've done more. Done more than them.
So I used to work for Sheffield Paddock, the Manchester United blog, so I can tell you all about Harry Amas. It's something that I'm personally really excited about. There are some caveats. He's a product of Watford Academy. He's not a Manc. So he joined Man U in 2023 from Watford. He was really rated down there. He kind of made the bench and some squads for a lot of, I think it was Bilic at the time, some of his kind of cup squads, and at that point the big academies go, ooh, who's that kid? So Man U fought off interest from Chelsea to bring him up north in 2023. I think he was 15, 16 when he joined up and kind of went into the under 21 setup straight away. So he's really highly rated on that side, and has been involved in kind of the first team stuff at Man U since February last year when it was still Ten Hag. Made his first team debut on his 18th birthday last season at Leicester. Just a little cameo, but then I think he's had 6 or 7 first team appearances, including like He's played against Liverpool. He was a part of that really big comeback against Lyon in the Europa League at Old
That was
Trafford.
box office.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I've missed. So he was called the Young Player of the Year last season. He's represented England at under 17, 16, and everything so far. Kind of as a player, he's a left wing back. He's very kind of attack minded. He's not going to be, kind of from what I've seen of him, being paid to watch him at Man U. He's not particularly kind of physically imposing. He's quite short, but he's very quick. He's very attack minded. But he's confident. He's like a good, like, tough tackler. Like, he's quite bolshy.
Like that.
If that makes sense. Some maybe personal concerns about how he fits into our squad. I feel like left back is somewhere that we're not actually mega struggling.
I was going to ask that, but I think we touched upon it earlier on, didn't we, about the wing back role or left?
Yeah, he can play midfield. Amram has played him in midfield, but it's not where he's kind of been developed, and not where he's particularly good. He's very left-footed. So if we're thinking about kind of inverting him, I think that would be a problem. Again, he can play midfield, but he's not very good at it. I can remember a couple of weeks ago, he was fighting off Champions League interest. I think PSV came in for him quite strongly. So I'm quite optimistic about this. Obviously, thank you very much, Manchester United, for, as I've just seen, literally paying his accommodation and is probably giving him a packed lunch on the way over. But yeah, I'm quite happy about this. If we're going to have one, let's have this one, whatever.
Yeah, I'm happy we've got somebody over the line. I must admit, I didn't think that was coming because I've written pages of notes as the transfer deadline's kind of panned out. And a lot of that is now irrelevant. So I've done a lot of work there for absolutely nothing because it's ended and we've only signed Harry Amass unless something comes out of the woodwork because paperwork. But Izzy Nicholson has said, still struggling to believe we signed somebody. I still feel like I want to tell him off like a 12-year-old for skiving class. And then Wickham says, I did wonder if at first Amass was a typo of Ahmad, but then remembered who I supported and knew we really couldn't afford him. And Craig Turton said, best hit the nail on the head. We don't stick up for ourselves and DC will be laughing. Bring on the regulator, which I assume was to the point before. In the meantime, thank you, Beth, by the way. I appreciate that. It's nice to have some knowledge about some of these kids that we keep signing because we all sit here and go, don't know naught about him, Ernie Weaver or something. You know what I mean? But I tell you what, if any of you are big users of X, you will be very aware of Mark the Pitsmore Owl. He's also started his own YouTube channel. Make sure you give him a like and subscribe. But he's been following the progress, Simon, of John Textor around the UK. It's actually every night. I think he was in London, wasn't he? And then he was in Nottingham the other day. So he let me read this verbatim so I don't get it wrong. So American football investor John Textor has officially registered interest in purchasing Sheffield Wednesday. I don't know where you register it. It's not like you write your name down and go, I'm going to write my name down. And he's preparing a formal meeting with Dapon Chansiri. He's reportedly willing to engage, even though the club's £100 million asking price may prove a sticking point. Textor's move arrives after Chansiri rejected a £40 million bid from another investor in June. So it looks like there's meetings taking place. I don't, but do you, Chansiri, to fuck this up? Yeah,
100%. It's all going to go massively tits up, so to speak. It's just going to go down the route of he's going to get a sniff of some cash, and he'll want something that is impossible, like what was it? The turning the Don round so it flowed the other way.
Oh my
and
God.
He'll want some Ugandan gold and something else. And John Textor will go, you know what? There's quite a few football clubs I could buy. I'm not really that interested in anymore. Plus, it's Sheffield because it's a rate shithole. And he'll disappear somewhere else. You've not got an airport.
Not even the people of Sheffield like it.
And I mean, oh God, we've had this threatening of meetings before, haven't we? Where Chansiri, who lives in Thailand, was supposed to be meeting somebody in London, and it was never going to happen because he's in Thailand and he doesn't live in London. And it's just, I think the 100 million is a bit of a red herring because there's going to be a point, isn't there, where the EFL basically allegedly are going to devalue the club so much that it will be taken off his hands. So there's going to be a point where he's going to have to take some money for the club, or he's going to get sweet call. So is it out of the frying pan into the fire with Textor? He has, was it Botafogo and Leon, is it?
Botafogo and Leon, and recently Crystal Palace, and didn't fill out the paperwork.
And well, do you remember the last time somebody didn't fill out the paperwork? It ended up in a 12-point deduction when they put the accounts in the wrong year. Yeah, that went well, didn't it?
They literally told him, tick this box here and everything's right. All right, fella, just tick that box there. And he still managed to miss it.
But back to the original question, we've got a madman in charge who basically is mental. And I just honestly do not see where the light at the end of the tunnel is. I feel like we've gone down this tunnel and it's just going on forever and ever and ever. And it's disheartening and really sad.
I think the worrying thing really sorry, mate. I think that one of the worrying things is when you're employing like professional brokers to try and broker a deal to sell Sheffield Wednesday, and other people start making bids, and then you get narratives coming out at languages saying very unique negotiations. We all know he's an absolute batshit crazy owner who moves the goalposts on a daily basis. How are you ever going to get him to agree to anything? I do not know. Although they reckon Textor is pretty good at negotiating with people, so if there's any glimmer of hope, if anyone's pro Textor or whatever, you just have to cling to that and hope that he can sweet talk him. But he's absolutely just a pain to deal with at any level, from selling the club to signing off on a player to, manager having to book hotels, for crying out loud. That should never be his job. Everything he does, it's just complicated.
When he first came in and they redecorated the hospitality suites, they had to wait 3 weeks for him to decide what colour blue to paint them, and he signed off on the colour blue. This is where we are.
Right. With that though, I think the issue with that is not that he's sat there looking at different shades of blue going, oh, well, I might go for a royal blue, I might go for a navy. I think it's just that because he's ingratiating himself into every single decision because he hasn't got people around him, we're sat waiting for a decision on what bloody blue. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it is. He's got no infrastructure around him.
No, exactly. And this is and if anything, people have reservations over Textor, but my thoughts are if he comes in, he has enough sporting prowess and knowledge to run football clubs that he will bring people in who know how to run a football club, that he can just basically sit at home wherever he lives in the States, and he'll have a director of football, he'll have a director of commercial, he'll have a CEO, and that at the moment we have nothing. We have Alistair, Trevor, and Doris the Tea Lady. I love to meet Doris the Tea Lady. She gets quoted.
She gets spoken about. Now, listen, I've got some housekeeping to talk about, and I just want to get through a couple of comments. So, Rob Shirley says, "Can we have Mark the Pits Morale doing regular Where is JT Today spot? Live updates with Mark the Pits Morale stalking around the world is all the content we need. He's already doing it. If you follow him on Twitter, there he is. Now, there's a comment here that I wanted to pick up from Craig Hayward saying, Ty Pride, he'd rather destroy us than say he's wrong. Now, on the back of Ty Pride, that's a really interesting point. Now, I don't know if this is an exclusive, but I'd ask if I was allowed to speak about it this evening. The Trust have gone for a different tack. The Trust have emailed a Thai newspaper because obviously they've got the connections that they have. And it's a rather lengthy statement going in about what Chansiri has done, about the shame he's bringing in. They've gone into that Thai Pride angle, and that's going to be printed in a Thai newspaper over the next couple of days. I don't want to break the story, but just keep an eye out for it, because I feel like it's a really well worded statement, and I definitely feel like that is a tack we should be taking. German Owl has gone with, I missed the start of the show. Did you already talk about the London protests? I nearly said London riots when I spoke about it the other week. London protests. The London Owls have arranged a protest this Thursday at the Thai embassy. I'm frantically trying to get it off work so I can get myself down, do some of those on the spot things, get myself one of them, Stormzy bulletproof vests. I'm here outside the Thai embassy. Give it one of them just to make it start, make it look like it's a thing. But it's going to be very polite. It's not going to look like Notting Hill Carnival if you've seen some of the footage that's come out of that. I've just realised I've put the comments on Auto Show. That was a mistake. And then we've also, Gary Allsop, bless him. Yeah, he's there. I've tweeted it down, see if I can talk about it. Thank you, Gary. It was Gary that mentioned it to me, and I didn't want to steal his thunder. But yeah, it respectfully asks the royal family for this letter to be forwarded onto the royal family. If you look on Gary's feed, then he'll have it out there. And then Radio Sheffield and the Owls Trust are both saying he's trying to hold on, so the texter rumour is pie in the sky. I think there is an element of trying to hold on, but without casting too many dispersions, and it's going to need one of these. Where is it? The rumour mill. I don't understand why he's trying to keep hold of it unless there's something bent that you don't want somebody to find. That's what I believe. I think that when somebody starts lifting up the rug, there's going to be some bent stuff. That's what's happening. In the meantime, does anybody have any other business?
I think
not without eating a box of frogs. But
yeah. I think the only thing I was going to mention is obviously the trust approached the club to be able to bring banners and other bits and bobs into the ground. And the club resignedly said, no, you couldn't, because other clubs have allowed it, and our club has said resounding no. I think there are other ways you can protest. I mean, smaller flags or people with letters on the shirts that say Chancery out. I don't know. There must be ways other than just bringing a banner in and asking the club, can we bring a banner in? Where we can protest, but without actually affecting the football game.
To be fair,
when we wore those Samido days and we all wore the cardboard faces.
Yes.
Can't we do the Chancery one with the line through it and then no Chancery?
Like the Ghostbusters symbol, but with Chancery's face mask.
Yeah, absolutely. There must be ways, or alternatively, everybody wears a T-shirt on the North Stand where it or people sit where it says Chancery. People sit at the bottom with T-shirts that spell the word out. There are ways of doing things, isn't there?
I did see that somebody be putting black bags over the white seats where it says Chancery. It still says Chancery, but in black. Someone's going to have to explain that one to me, but we hadn't thought that one through, lads. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm joking. Beth, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks a lot for joining us. Where do we get hold of you and your nonsense, by the way? Are you on the Twitter rings?
Personal nonsense at Bethany Clemency, women's nonsense at EdsWFC WSG.
Thank you very much. In the meantime, don't forget to follow the Wendy Dars if you want to talk about more Sheffield-based things. You've got Simon Jixon 1000 and Al Z for John and Simon there, or you can get on the QR code that's on the screen now. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's about time we got these numbers up. I haven't been asking it. I've done really badly. But thanks a lot for joining me tonight. Don't forget to join me this Thursday, 5 p.m. on TalkSport 2 for what I call the Dan Fudge Show. That title was rejected. See you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week. Bringing you football analysis.
They said we'll win the league next season.
Bringing you banter.
I don't think everyone wants to listen to my boring anecdotes.
Why not? You've been doing it for 4 years on this show.
I should not have said that. I should not have said that.
This show's like you're mental. No, I'm not.
Clip that.
Bringing you terrible impressions.
Wibble, wobble, wobbly, wobble, wibble, wobble, Cyber Jordan. Hey, pay your bills. I don't know where these jokes are coming from.
Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there for podcasts, etc.
The award-winning Wednesday Week. Join us.
Put down your